Know if your health issue is caused by your weight? Well, you don't. It's nuanced and complicated, but probably not in the way that you think. And this is probably preventing you from having the relationship with food in your body that you really want. I'm Tiffany North. I'm an RN, and I help people heal their relationship with food and body. So often people come to me saying, like, I really want to embrace intuitive eating. I'm tired of dieting. I'm tired of restricting. I'm tired of all the anxiety and preoccupation. I'm tired of fighting with my body and hating myself. But I'm afraid that if I embrace intuitive eating and I let go of the idea of intentional weight loss, that my health issues will get worse, or they won't get better. I won't be able to improve them. And it makes sense that we have this idea that our health issues are caused by our size. First of all, we live in a society that's very individualistic of, like, if you're having this issue, it's your fault, it's your problem, especially if you're a woman, if you're fat, if you are a person of color, if you're queer, right? And we're also told when we go to the doctor that we need to lose weight anytime we have any health issue. Now, this is not very scientifically accurate, right? We have a correlation that being at a higher weight is more likely to have some of these health issues, but we don't have studies that show causation. People who are thin get all of these health issues. So it's something that any body can experience regardless of the size of the person, right? So why do we have these correlations? Well, because of weight stigma and anti-fat bias in healthcare, we are told that our size is the cause when there's a correlation, rather than looking at what are some of the other things that could be causing this correlation. So things like increased allostatic load, which means the wear and tear and stress on your body, the inflammation in your body, right? And that increased allostatic load can be accounted for by just the amount of stigmatization that we encounter in the world. Fat people are not paid as much. We don't get as many job offers, right? We are treated poorly in the healthcare system. We are often directly told that we aren't good enough as we are. So there's an added layer of stress that fat people experience that other people don't. And again, this increases as you have more marginalized identities. We also receive less quality healthcare, which then in turn means we're less likely to go to the doctor. So when you're experiencing stigma when you go to the doctor is not thinking about all the possible treatments. Instead, they're gatekeeping care, right? And then we're not very likely to go to the doctor in the first place, or go back, or we may delay care, which may make our health issue worse in the first place. Now, for those of you who are saying, well, but when I am lighter, I have less pain, or I have less this or that. Well, there's also like other things that we may be doing that can improve the health thing that aren't actually the weight loss. So you may be eating more nutrients, right? You might be eating more vegetables. You might be walking more. You might be just feeling better about yourself and having less negative self-talk. And all of those things can improve our health conditions. So I personally had an experience that really helped me with this understanding that my weight is not the cause of my health condition. I had herniated disc in my back as a newer nurse on the floor lifting patients, and was told by a neurosurgeon that, you'll never be able to lift patients again. And I thought maybe I would need surgery, but instead he told me that I needed to lose weight. He took an x-ray of my back and blew it up really big and showed me where the herniation was, and then showed me the amount of fat on my back, the fat pad. And so that was causing strain on my back, and that I needed to lose weight and go to physical therapy. Well, that was actually appreciated down the line, because it turns out that I didn't need surgery to heal my back pain, but it was really painful to have that experience. So I lost weight. I was one of the lightest weights I've been at as an adult, and I went to physical therapy. And while I was actively in physical therapy at one of the lightest weights I've been at, I re-herniated the disc in my back. So that tells me that it actually wasn't about the weight in the first place, right? Turns out I'm hypermobile. My mom and my brother had both had back surgery by this time in my life. My mom had multiple. My brother was on his way to have more. So, back issues really run in my family. My brother actually had not been at a higher weight. My mom had been fluctuating like me. But the point is that it turns out that I was having back problems because of some of the ways I moved through the world, some of the ways I held tension, the way that my body tries to compensate for my hypermobility. And when I found providers that actually listened to me, that didn't make it about my weight or my size, I actually got really good care that helped me to heal a lot of the pain that I was experiencing. Now, if I were to go for, a super long hike today, I probably would have a little bit of achiness in my back, but I know how to come home and like stretch and take care of it and ice and do these things, right? But day to day, I live pain-free, at least for my back. I do have some autoimmune conditions that cause pain elsewhere. But again, those aren't caused by my weight. Now, is it true that there's a correlation out there that you might have more like musculoskeletal pain if you're at a higher weight? Possibly. But again, that's not showing why. Not showing the inadequate care that I might receive when I would go to the doctor, or not showing the other symptoms that might actually be more of a cause of my pain that are also correlated with being at a higher weight, right? So if I'm not able to move as much because I have pain, because I'm hypermobile, I may end up being at a higher weight because I don't, I'm not out there moving, and my body may, like my size may increase. So that's a personal experience that I had that really helped to like cinch in my brain. It's not true that being lighter will help this issue. We also need to look at, just because someone who's naturally at a lighter weight has better outcomes or is less likely to have a health issue, that doesn't mean that if we, as someone who's in a higher weight, loses weight, will have the same outcome as someone who was thinner to begin with, kind of naturally over their lifetime. We have to look at how weight cycling impacts our body. We have to look at whether that change in our size gives us more access to care, right? Whether that is we lost weight because we've restricted food, and whether that food restriction then causes some malnourishment that makes us have an even poorer outcome, right? So there's a lot of nuance here that we need to look at. But beyond all of that, even if it was true that it's more likely that you have this health condition, or your health condition is going to be worse if you're at a higher weight, there's not a quality adequate method or consistent method for intentional weight loss that lasts beyond a couple of years. When studies show the 2-year rate, the dropout rate is so high, and even then a lot of people aren't able to maintain the weight loss. At 5 years, it's almost 0%. It's like maybe 2% of people were able to maintain the weight loss. If we had an adequate way that showed that people could easily lose weight and sustain that over their lifetime, then maybe we could look at, is it worthwhile to focus on weight loss in the short term? Unfortunately, it becomes this long-term weight cycling, increasing your anxiety, stressful experience, right? That causes us to be constantly trying to like fix our body, control, manage, contort, rather than be in relationship with our body. So what I'm saying is the cost of pursuing intentional weight loss is so high that even if there was some correlation, or even if there was some causation, it's likely not worth it to continue to pursue intentional weight loss rather than focusing instead on your relationship with yourself. And so this is where the work that I do comes in. We look at how do all of those things, living in this system that tells us that we're bad or wrong, that doesn't support us in the bodies that we're in, that tells us we need to fix, control, contort ourselves, be smaller, be thinner, how all of that gets internalized and creates attachment wounds. Then when we have those attachment wounds and we continue to pursue intentional weight loss rather than saying that all of that diet culture messaging is too harmful for me, all of that restricting and negative self-talk, all of that's too harmful for me, and instead focus on healing our relationship with food and body, our attachment wounds grow, and we continue to have this anxiety, this preoccupation, or this avoidance that's happening. So we become very insecurely attached with our bodies, with food, with ourselves, and this can also impact relationships with others. So instead, we want to recognize that it's the systems that say that I'm not okay as I am. It's the systems that tell me that I need to focus on weight loss rather than health. It's the systems that tell me I'm not going to be okay and that don't give me adequate care. So when we do that, when we kind of break up with diet culture and all of that anti-fat bias and all of that messaging, we can really tune into how do I tend to the body that I have right now? How do I care for myself as I am? What are the things that actually can improve my health without it being about weight loss? So if you have a family history of diabetes or you're concerned about diabetes, you can focus on blood sugar control, blood sugar management, which includes things like stress reduction and getting adequate sleep. When you have musculoskeletal issues, finding body workers that are able to support you and really look at functionally what's going on with your movement, with your tension patterns, and all of these things, right? If you're struggling with, say, cholesterol, there's actually a lot of supplements that you can take. There's things like movement. Just getting 30 minutes of exercise a day makes a huge difference. Again, we need to work on our relationship with exercise too, because this can also be impacted. We can have a insecure attachment style with that. These are all ways in which we can become more securely attached with ourselves, but it takes letting go of the notion that your health is only going to improve if you focus on losing weight, or that your health condition can only be managed or treated with intentional weight loss. So one more tip I'd like to give is making sure that you find a health at every size provider who is not going to focus on your weight. That has been so powerful for myself and for all my clients, for my friends, anybody that I have known that's had a provider that was not health at every size, that was very weight centric. They had so much healing when they finally found somebody who was focused on health and not weight or size. I hope this cleared some things up. I'm always happy to answer questions, and I expand on all of these ideas in my book, Enough: Heal Your Relationship with Food and Body Using Attachment Theory. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe for more videos about becoming securely attached with food and body.